What's your church?
Holy
What's up, guys? Welcome to my new little setup so I can give you guys some extra commentary throughout these videos. Today we're going to talk about what exactly happened when I did what's called a shunt mod to this controller, what else I did to this controller, and how it all ended. So stay tuned. I'm going to be commenting on everything you guys see in this video for some extra entertainment and some extra information so you guys have a better idea of what exactly happened. So check this out. Let's get into the video. And guys, if you do want to get this bike, if you are interested in this bike and modifying it, check out the link below. It's a great bike. Even at stock speeds, it's one of the fastest e-bikes you can get for only $2,000. Check out the link in the description below. What's up, guys? We are out here testing out the shunt modded wired cruiser, dual battery. Hoping to get more amps. Looks like Frankenstein. Out of this thing to get to close to 3,500 watts, somewhere on there. And let me show you guys what's going on. Look at that license plate, though. That's the whole point of this video. I just want to show off the license plate. So, here's what happened. So I did the shunt mod in the controller down here. Stay tuned. I have it open. I'll explain the shunt mod later. And what happened is the wattage now is inaccurate on the screen. I know I'm pulling more watts than the full 2,000, 2,300 that most people get. So I'm like, I need to measure this manually somehow. Hold on, I gotta get out of this car's way. I need to measure this manually somehow. So I got one of these clamp, whatever these called, current measurement tools. And I have like a disaster. The positive all I see are zip wire that goes into the controller from the battery blender in this clamp. I have it in the clamp and I have this set to amps, and this is crazy. So I have a GoPro set up right here recording this. I have a light because the backlight on this it's so bad I can't even see it. If it works, it's not stupid. And it's recording straight into my dash so I can see exactly how many amps I'm getting. And let me tell you guys, fix this over here, get it a little better. Let me tell you guys, this thing is no joke. It's crazy. It's actually for me. It's crazy. I have a fan. It's a lot of watts for me. 4,000. I know. Controller. For some of you guys, that's nothing. That fan is going to be permanent, and this whole setup is the jankiest setup you've ever seen. Let me tell you, I should be sponsored by Zip Ties themselves because I've used so many. Yes, but, correct. Look at this. Pretty creative, right? So I can see how many amps I'm getting, and all right, let's get to it. Let's get to the good stuff. This thing is pulling. So let's see what we got. All right. Finally. Look at that little amp display. DC amps. Oh. Peaked right at 60. Alright, so we just hit 60. It never went over 60. I think it's some kind of like internal hardware limit in the controller. 60, because that means this thing is going over 3,500 watts. On a full charge, it actually almost gets to 4,000. 55, 52 amps. 50 amps. This was at like 3,000 watts. I don't know, maybe like 90% charge, 85, something like that. 53. Holy s***. Yeah, stop swearing. 48. This thing loves going 35 now. Just loves it. Oh my god. Let's check out some hill climbing performance. See how this thing goes. See how many amps it draws. 59, 56, wow. Holy shit. I had a giant like pothole where the sewer manhole cover was. It was kind of like in the road. Holy Can you stop swearing? Oh my god. Trying not to crash. Good job. Can't wait to get my new camera. It's got a much bigger field of view. I'm actually using my phone to record all these videos. But soon, we're going to be upgrading, guys. So guys, now we're getting into the performance testing. So much faster. It's like at least 5 miles an hour faster. Oh, that's me talking on the stock side. This is fully charged. 60 plus volts. I think it was like 65 or 67 volts. Look at that. It just obliterated the stock side. And this is already a fast bike. Alright, here's a really steep hill climb.
Almost 2,300 watts. Almost.
Like it's nothing. Can you believe that, guys? 20 miles an hour, 15 to 20 miles an hour up a steep hill on a geared hub drive bike that you can buy online. Amazing. And these are just some basic, I guess you could say, drag strip runs or drag runs. We're testing 0 to 20 times, 0 to 30 times, and these are pretty quick. I did the same street on the way back. My times, for whatever reason, are way faster, even stock, than Tail Happy's TV review. I don't know if you guys saw his review of the Wired Freedom. My times are way faster. 0 to 20, he got like 5 something seconds. I'm getting like maybe 3 something. I don't know what happened there. But as you can see, the modded bike is just so much faster. And this is just a basic, I guess, top speed run maybe, or just a timed run down this long street. We're just flooring it pretty much the whole time. So again, guys, this is a fully charged bike, 65 or 67 volts times. This thing was peaking at 61 amps. That comes out to almost 4,000 watts. So the whole time this thing is pushing anywhere between 3,500 to 4,000 watts. For a geared hub motor, that's a lot. That's a lot of watts for a geared hub motor. Thank God for the steel reinforced gears this geared hub motor comes with. One of the few bikes that still has that. Look at that. At least 5 miles an hour faster pretty much the entire time. And it especially shines going uphill, like up moderate hills in that mid-range speed of like 20-ish miles an hour. The shunt mod just crushes the stock version. So guys, let me explain to you exactly what I did to get this much power out of a already powerful e-bike. This is the controller right here, and it's open. I opened up the top, I opened up the ends, I'll tell you everything I did to it. So first and foremost, a shunt mod is where you essentially trick the controller into thinking it's getting a certain amount of wattage. You trick it into thinking it's not getting enough amps, and therefore it takes on more amps. So for example, this controller, I did the shunt mod, and for example, let's say I thought it was only getting 20 amps. So it was like, oh, let's take on more amps, but it was actually getting 40, right? So you essentially tricked the controller, which is one of the reasons why the display was not giving out an accurate reading of how many watts it was actually taking on. It was only peaking out at like 2,000, right? So let me see if I can get some focus here. The shunts are right there, okay? Right over there. If you could see, there's a nice layer of solder right over those shunts. So I just covered it with solder, and I had to clean that up. I took my time. The first time I did it, it was messy, so I cleaned it up. It's nice and neat now. And so that was the shunt mod. And then what happened after, I took it for a test drive, and it worked, same power as before. But after, there's some MOSFETs underneath this heatsink and resistors here that were getting extremely hot, like over 200 degrees easily, right? And so what I did, as you could tell, I made some, I didn't make these, I modified some already existing heat sinks from Amazon. These heat sinks are actually LED heat sinks. I cut them up, I trimmed them down, and put them over the resistors. Underneath them is some thermal glue, and then around that is some high heat JB weld that I actually used to repair the magnets of this motor back when I first got this bike used. And that's stable, these aren't going anywhere. I put some supporting kind of thermal pads around it, as you could see, to make sure everything is sturdy during the bumps and whatnot of a bike ride. Now up here, there's two MOSFETs that were completely exposed. That's terrible, right? They're completely exposed. And as you could tell, I put some heat sinks on there. There's a cross bolt at the top and everything's JB welded up top. Again, super secure, just to make sure nothing flies off and touches anything else electrical, because these are aluminum heat sinks, guys. They are electrically conductive, and if they fell off and touched something else, it would cause a short. So that's what I did, and as you could tell, this thing is open. What I did back here is I actually made some holes back here, and this was going to be completely open. I was going to put a fan blowing upwards. I was going to flip this whole thing upside down on the bike, because normally it's mounted like this, and I wanted hot air going up, so a fan blowing air through the controller through here, and everything was going to be kind of shielded from the tire to make sure there wasn't being any kind of water splashed up. But that's what I was going to do. Let me show you the controller box. I cut everything up. I was going to have lots of air cooling going. So this is the original controller box. So what I was going to do is have, let me see if I can show you. What I was going to do, a fan right here blowing air in, and then as you're riding, there's air going into these ducts right there, and then on top that's exhausting out, and also in the back there's another exhaust, and everything's going to be covered. So that was the original plan. There's going to be a ton of air cooling going on in this controller, and honestly I might do that anyways once I get the stock controller. Again, I ordered a new stock controller because this is a completely airtight, watertight, essentially an airtight box. And this controller, let me see if I can get this on camera. So these things, these little guys back here, these are transistors. Some people call them MOSFETs, right? They get hot, and if you notice, something else I did, I put some thermal paste behind those and behind the tape that they're touching. But if you notice, they're touching this housing. That's because this whole housing is designed to cool down those parts. And if this is sealed up in an airtight box that's getting no airflow, this thing is already getting pretty hot. So the next controller I get, no matter if it's a stock version of this or an upgraded one, I'm gonna put it so that it's exposed to air and it's getting some airflow. And as you can tell down here, it is all, besides the holes that I made, it is pretty watertight and sealed up at the cables. There's a rubber grommet that pushes really tightly into those cables, and you can even add your own hot glue or silicone in there just to make sure it's even tighter. But yeah, these things are pretty water resistant, I would say, by themselves. And guys, I want to reiterate that I made this controller operate out of its specified parameters, right? And a lot of people on the DIY Facebook group, some other Facebook groups, and also especially shout out to ebike guy on his channel. He helped me out a lot in telling me what to do. He gave me the best advice in terms of what to do, what kind of heat sinks to put on and whatnot. So shout out to him. Check out his channel. He builds high powered custom e-bikes. But anyways, I made this thing operate way outside of its parameters. I essentially added nitrous into the system, and if you add nitrous into a stock Honda Civic and floor it and expect it to run at all times on nitrous, what do you think is going to happen? The same thing that happened in one of my favorite movies, Fast and the Furious, where he throws the nitrous on once and then again, and the engine essentially burns out. And that's exactly what happened to this bike. Now, the motor I think is fine, but the controller is burnt out. I got a thermal camera for this whole project, and what it revealed was that the MOSFETs that were under the two heat sinks that I put in were getting hot when things were working, right? I just powered on the system and there was current going through the MOSFETs. And after the controller burnt out, there's no heat coming out of there at all. It seems like things are just dead underneath those heat sinks. So I think that's probably what burned out. And they were getting pretty hot even with the heat sinks. The motor was actually okay. On the outside, it measured at about 150 degrees Fahrenheit, which is okay. When you touched it, it was pretty hot. You don't want to keep your hands there. I have server hands, so I can maybe touch stuff that's a little bit hotter. And the phase wire was also getting pretty hot. It was getting up to about 150 degrees Fahrenheit, and that's pretty hot, guys. I would not run more than 3,500 watts through this motor and through that whole system. You're just asking for trouble. You're asking for the motor to be burned out. What happened was I was stress testing the bike. I thought to myself, you know what? If I'm going to be stranded, it might as well be near my house, not 30 miles away. So I decided to stress test the bike. It was a warmer day, so I figured, okay, if it's going to survive this, it's definitely going to survive a long-term trip. It did not survive. So what happened was it started vibrating. The motor started vibrating a lot, and it's kind of weird, and then it just stopped giving me power. The display turns on, but the motor just stopped giving me all power. So yeah, guys, we're gonna get a new controller, see if it works. Until then, I'm just gonna be cleaning up the mounting system of the battery, making sure that looks nice and neat and organized, all the wiring is good. And then what I think the plan is to get a real high-powered controller. We're gonna go with the Sabvaton 7280, which is an 80 amp controller. Now, I'm obviously not gonna run it at 80 amps. We're gonna run it at 60 because, like I said, I don't wanna put more than 3,500 watts into this system. I think it's too much for that motor. But that controller is designed to run at that power spec. And so it's not going to burn out. It's going to be mounted on the outside, plenty of airflow. And I think we're going to have a really nice high power geared hub motor. And it's an easy way to upgrade your already existing e-bike by adding a second battery. You double the amount of amps that are available from the batteries together. And then you have more watts available to deliver into the motor. As long as you don't burn out the motor and you have the right controller, it should be a nice, easy way to upgrade most e-bikes. And like I said, guys, if you just want to get this bike and keep it stock, add the dual batteries. This is an amazing platform. You'll get a ton of range. This bike is great. The motor is one of the best motors out there that you can get for e-bikes. So check out the link in the description. Check out the Wired Freedom and Cruisers and see for yourself. Maybe you'll like it. And if not, if you think differently, if you think this bike is terrible, let me know in the comments below what you guys think. Stay tuned, guys. Don't miss a thing. We're going to be working on that project. Not anytime soon. I've got a lot of other things I have to deal with and get this bike fixed up with the regular controller. But I think in the next coming months, I'll be ordering that part. It's obviously getting shipped from China, so it takes a while to get here anyways. And then I have to get a new display because I think the display that's already on this bike will not work with the Sabvaton controller. So we have to get all that figured out and then put it on, and then I'll make another video for you guys. So it won't be for a while, but it will be out. Guys, let me know what you think in the comments below about this entire project. What would you have done differently? If you have any advice for me, any electrical engineers that are out there that are watching this video, you let me know what you think. Leave some comments below. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this whole video series.